Good morning, it's Alice Teely again at the Waterford in the Country Kitchen, and I'm going to be making Parlor Dean's 3 chocolate chip cookies. So to begin with, I'm going to cream my butter and let me get this in. And shortening. I use Crisco shortening, and it calls for a cup of butter and a half a cup of Crisco shortening. Okay, I'm going to be turning the mixer on as soon as I get this in. Okay, so we'll have a little bit of noise again. Get that all fluffy and mixed. And Paula Deen likes lots of butter. So, and I'm with her. Okay, now I'm going to gradually add the sugars. And it's 3/4 cup of regular sugar and 1 3/4 cup of brown sugar. So I will gradually add the granulated sugar now. These cookies were my grandson and his soccer team's favorite cookies. But I've been making these for years and years, as you can tell from the sheet's all messed up. And my grandson would always say, when he would take any home, he said, "Gran, if you zap them for about 8 seconds, they're even better because the chips get softer." And I guess he would know. Okay, now I'm going to gradually add the brown sugar. Oh, and when I say zap, that means the microwave. Which I had no idea until then. This recipe makes a lot, but partly because I put lots of chocolate chips in. Whereas Paula Deen would say, "Oh, use this so many of this and that," and I think, no. If I could just dump them all in. Okay, now I'm going to put the eggs in and vanilla. Eggs are, where's my egg? Oh, right here in front of me. 3 eggs. And again, I like my eggs and my butter at room temperature. So I'm going to add the eggs. This particular cookie one is it's just a favorite of everyone's. When I would make them for here, everybody seemed to like them. And even before I moved to the Waterford, I was making them. So, and like I said, the soccer team found that of all of the different cookies that I made, this I guess was their favorite. Because maybe with all of the chocolate that's in them. Okay, now I'm going to mix this and a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and I never measure. I just flop it in. That's good. It looks good anyway. My grandson, who lives out in White Rock, and he played with the same boys for like 10 years. So I've been making cookies for them every Friday here. I made cookies for the team, and for 10 years. And so I really miss now that they're all off to university. So I find myself making cookies or even pies for the people here, just so I've got something to do. And then when he comes home from university, I would make cookies for him to take back there. And the same with my granddaughter when she was at UVic. And she would always go home with cookies. And at one point, when she was over here, she said that, Gran, we have more boys knocking on our doors since I take homemade cookies. And I said, well, that's great. So I'm hoping that maybe girls will knock on my grandson's birthday, on his, when he goes back to school. Okay, now, in my flour, it's a 3 3/4 cup of flour and 2 teaspoons of soda, baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So I've mixed it all in my flour here. So I will gradually add the flour mixture to the butter, eggs, and sugars. And we're just about finished. At the end, I'll put in the chips. Yeah, when I moved to the Waterford, I knew that I wouldn't be able to bake because we don't have ovens in our suites. And then we were having a bake sale. And I said something about, oh, that's too bad because I would love to bake things. And so then that's when, who was the manager then? Craig was the manager. And he said, oh, you can use the oven down here. So from that time on, I used the oven down here. And eventually we hope to redo this country kitchen. So they assured me that they're gonna put in a wall oven for me. So I'm looking forward to that. But, let me see that. And where we lived before I came here, well, I did a lot of baking there too. And some of the neighbors would have little grandkids that would visit. And the people that lived across the street from us at that time had 2 little grandsons, and they came to visit. So I went out one day and says, would you ask your grand if you can have cookies? So they went back and they asked their grand and came back and said, yep, she said it was okay. So for every time they would come to visit their grandparents, they played street hockey and they would ask where the cookies were. So that made me feel good that they had homemade cookies. So, as you can see, the batter gets pretty stiff with the flour and everything that you add. So then, as soon as I get all of this mixed, I will put all the chips in and that brickle. This should be the end of the flour. And the recipe calls for a bittersweet chocolate. And if there's an easy way, I will find it to do these things. And so when I found, like Paula Deen just used the bars and he chopped them up, and I was able to find bittersweet chocolate chips. But this time I couldn't find them. So fortunately, I had a chocolate chip bar. I found that amongst my things. So I was able to chop those up. And when she would say, oh, a cup of chips or what, I just put the whole bags in. Why not? Okay, now I'm going to add the chips at this point. It calls for, in this mixture I have the milk chocolate, milk chocolate chip and the semi-sweet chocolate chip. So I will just add the whole thing because these were the whole bags full. I better watch what I'm doing. And then the next one would be the bittersweet. So I chop this up, and there's the bittersweet. And then I will add the brickle. You can see why it makes a lot. Oh yeah, this is the Score toffee bits. It's kind of the secret to the whole thing. Okay. It is very, very stiff right now. So I'll just give it a couple of whirls and then I'll use the wooden spoon to get the rest in. Okay, now that's it for the recipe. And as you can see, it makes a lot of dough. Can you see that? Okay, now, the next step is putting them on the cookie sheet. And I just use only one cookie sheet at a time. And but the temperature is 375, and on the recipe it says to bake 11 to 12 minutes. But quite often I don't need that much time because I make them smaller. This would be the size that I use. Normally Paula made much larger ones, but she wasn't baking for 17 boys at that time. And I always use parchment paper. And then I usually flatten them just a bit. And that way they are a bit bigger. And I put a dozen on each tray. My hands are clean. You have to leave space, a bit of space for them to spread. When Craig was the manager here, when I first moved here, he loved dough, cookie dough. And I would always tell him that really isn't good for you, but he said it tastes good. So he would come in and make sure he got some cookie dough. Okay, now I'm gonna put them in the oven. It's at 375, and I check them after about 8 to 10 minutes and see how they're doing. So I will put the timer on, and that's it. Now we just sit and wait. I've put the timer on for 8 minutes, and I will give them a check. And I think maybe just a couple of minutes more. And that will do it. Now I let them sit there for a couple of minutes. And after these cool down for just a couple of minutes on the baking sheet, I put them onto a cooling rack to finish cooling off.
So how many cookies does it take to feed a soccer team?
I would probably take out to them about 10 dozen, and they would all be gone. Well, they wouldn't get their cookies until after the game. And then once in a while I would make enough that I would give the parents. Now these are going to go into the oven, and this time I'm going to try it in about 10 minutes and see what happens. And I'll turn it back on. Now these are ready to take off and put on the cooling rack. This is a nice scoop. I can do the whole pan in one scoop. I hope everyone enjoys the cookies. And this recipe is really great. And if you have a large family or lots of kids, they would enjoy these. Thank you.